Hi friends, hello everyone. Welcome again, once again to Talk About Life. And Talk About Life, if this is the first time that you're tuning in, either in YouTube, uh, video, or podcast internationally, I welcome you to the audio, radio of podcast, the podcast world, and a little bit of promotion about Singapore, just to play my part as a Singaporean. Singapore is a little island that is about 40 kilometers from east to the west. It has about a population of 7 million, about 4 million born and bred here, about 2 million to 3 million people who are moving in and out of the country. They're usually um, professional workers, immigrant workers, students, business people, travelers, etc. So you've got this ratio of people living in a really small country. And the beauty of Singapore, and I always tell my listeners and viewers, is that it is quite an amazing country whereby, there's a respect of different faith, um, different color. To me, it's a kind of acceptance that we are born with, an acceptance that we are brought up with, I should say, that, your neighbors are different from you. The neighbor could be from another country. The neighbor could be speaking in another language. They could look different from you, right? But, we live together in a small, little packed island whereby people are stacked on top of each other because of the high-rise buildings. Imagine New York City, right? Just like cramped up in a country, and we are our borders are made up of water. We are in the South China Sea, but we're nowhere close to China. We're about 7 hours to Australia, and the way to imagine for people to imagine Singapore is just like an hour away from Indonesia by flight, or probably a little bit more, but you could take the ferry to one of the beautiful islands of Indonesia. That's where one of your ex-presidents were brought up. They grew up in Indonesia, Barack Obama. And I think that's how the world get to know this part of the world. And hey, you get to know me from my podcast and from my channel, and my new friend Alessia from the US. So, and to tell Alessia a little bit more about Singapore, this is almost like a financial hub where you got the top world's venture capitalists, the American banks are here, the British banks are here, and we are. I think we are going to release one of the board for cryptocurrency exchange very soon. I think the regulations are going to be in place. So Singapore is poising to be one of the first country in the world to be able to buy and sell cryptocurrency, the bitcoins. Yeah. So this is a financial capital of the world, and we hosted your president, Donald Trump, and North Korea uh, President Kim Jong-un to Singapore for the first world-breaking historical meeting right here in Singapore. Imagine the amount of security. I think it was up to 20 million just to host them for 3 days. Really strict lockdown of the country in terms of security to bring the world leaders in Singapore. Okay, that's a little bit background, and also to promote Singapore a little bit. I hope that post-pandemic we welcome all tourists from all over the world to come on to Singapore to spend the tourism dollar and to stay in the hotels, to fill up the rooms, and to buy as much as you like off the shopping malls. I think that is really going to help the economy and create more jobs, doesn't it, Alessia? Tell us about yourself, Alessia, and say hi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alessia Nicole. I am from the After Dark podcast. Well, it's considered as a music podcast, but also we have different avenues and discussion topics that we mainly, talk about. So I'm a mother,
Wonderful.
and I'm getting shy. I don't know why am I getting shy, but I'm just excited about being here because I would like to get. I'm I tend to like take my free time to try to learn about different cultures and countries, and I am excited about hearing so much, and I want to get to know more about Singapore. So I'm
I mean,
happy to
we
be here, honored
welcome
to
you
be here.
here. Pandemic, bring your family, your children here. It's a really wonderful place. It could be a little bit expensive though. When you buy clothes, branded stuff, but you don't need to live like the Kardashians. You don't need to buy branded stuff. You can just go to the streets, bring your children to the zoo and all this. So it's a nice place for children to expose themselves to this part of Asia. Singapore is really safe. You can go out in the street at night and not get mugged, and it is safe for women to go out in the streets. So this is largely a country that I should say that really safe for everyone, students, child, women, girls, and a really low crime rate. And I should say that it's just like a modern island city state. So what we have here are just shopping malls upon shopping malls upon shopping malls.
Well,
And when you go to the shops, it's glitter all over. It's like all the bling, meaning that it's a really modern place. You don't get to see old buildings because it quickly
right.
gets torn down for the high-rise buildings to go up.
Yes.
Yeah. So Alicia, you are a mom, and welcome to Singapore today. So to let the listeners and the viewers know, today is the 18th of November, 2020, 10:14 p.m. here, and I believe it's a morning over there, right?
Yes, it's 8:14 in the morning.
Thank you so much. Okay, and today our topic is pandemic in your country. And without divulging confidentiality, can you tell us which part of US are you at? And do you know the numbers, the situation? Uh, how are you currently living? Tell us.
Okay, well, where I'm in state of Louisiana, United States, state of Louisiana, and the numbers are extremely rising. Um, our governor is doing the best that they can to try to make sure that we wear our masks properly, take care of ourselves by keeping, a distance from each other. Um, they're trying to do everything they possibly can to help us educate ourselves and also take better care of ourselves. Because even though they are giving us, the tools to do it, we still have people has to take heed and do those things as well. Because there are a lot of people that are not wearing their masks, not following the guidelines, still going out and partying, and they think that COVID is not real.
Yeah. And tell us about yourself. What you think about all these interpretations.
It's real, and I believe everything, and I'm standing on it. And what I mainly want to get out is for myself and my kids. By me being a mother of small kids, are 5 years old, 5-year-old twins.
Mm.
Um, it's kind of hard to try to get them in the routine that you have to wash your hands, keep your mask on, don't do this, don't do that, and it's kind of hard, but you have to do it.
Yeah. Okay. And I am particularly interested. You are the first mother that I'm interviewing. So I'm just going to ask you some of these questions as we go along. I just want you to, is there any numbers in Louisiana that you know of now? What's the current rates, you
Well,
know?
I didn't look at her, but I know it's a couple of days ago. We went up to over 3,000 something. I'm not, don't quote me on it. I was just looking
Yeah.
at it and I was looking at it and
Okay.
keep going.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't want you to quote on me, but it's getting high.
Yeah. And Louisiana, and I don't know much about America except for Disneyland that I've been. And I suppose you live in houses, individual houses, right? You don't live in
Yes,
close community like in this part of the world in Singapore, whereby we live in high-rise buildings like in New York. People are stacking on top of each other. So there is natural social distancing already. Am I right to say that?
right.
Mm.
There are, but
Yeah, tell us.
they are, but it takes the people to take heed of the warning signs and do things to protect themselves. And a lot of them are not doing it because they don't believe
Okay,
that COVID is real.
yeah. And because you keep saying that like twice and three times now, when you go out to the streets, you go out to the malls, what do you see in terms of the people? Mask, no mask, people who social distance, don't social distance. I mean, tell us the scenario, describe.
Okay, so first thing first, there are rules set in place. There are warning signs that you cannot enter the store without a mask. And there are some stores that don't even follow their own rules that the signs that are out. Because legally you have to have a sign placed out. And there are some stores that you can just go in without a mask and without the proper things, 6 feet, the distances. They don't social distance, they don't do, some of them don't do it. And there are scenarios where everybody is following the rules. But there are some individual moms and pop stores or just general stores that let you come in without the mask. And that's not fair to other people as well.
Yeah, and I asked this question to you. Um, this divide of maskers, people who practice precaution and people who do not practice precaution, is it causing tension in the amongst the people? Tell us
Yes,
about
it is.
your environment. How are you feeling it where you are?
Okay, where I'm at when people don't follow the rules, I'm starting to get anxiety, really bad anxiety, because I'm afraid that, okay, if I go to the store and or I go somewhere and somebody is not taking the precautions, would I get sick? Or I'm worried about my kids getting sick because somebody's not following the rules. And a lot of people are coming up with all type of anxieties and depression and mental situations. Like there is a mental situation, but a mental, but a lot of people are getting mental illnesses behind it.
Tell us about these situations. The mental illness manifested during this period, or they were just naturally like had a mental illness in the first place, or you're talking about the pandemic is causing people to undergo certain stress.
Right.
Tell us.
Okay, like I was elaborating just a moment ago about people are afraid
Yeah.
and causing anxiety, depression. And some people may have had that underlying already, but the COVID has brought it out, the pandemic has brought it out. And there are some people who has never experienced those things and are starting to experience the anxiety and the depression and the panic disorders. There are, this pandemic is bringing a lot of things on, because there's
Yeah.
uncertainty of when it's going to end.
Can you give us an example of someone that you know who is actually in that kind of situation?
Well, first thing I can give an example for myself. I haven't never experienced anxiety and panic disorders. I have never had that before. I never had any situation that I was in to cause me to have those feelings. So I had to go to a physician and tell them what I was experiencing, and they said that's part of having anxiety disorder. It's an anxiety disorder coincide with the pandemic because I'm
Describe
so
how
afraid.
describe what went through your body. How did you feel that panic attack or the anxiety?
Okay, so I'm gonna say this: the news is important for you to watch, but every day I was watching the news, it was something, someone's dying, someone's getting sicker, the hospital rate, you don't have any rooms. It's so many different things was going on, and in my body, I was getting, my palms were sweating. I was feeling like I was having a heart attack. I was wanting to regurgitate. I was just like everything was spinning. I couldn't leave out the house because I was scared, afraid if I walk out the door, something's going to happen to me, or if my kids walk out the door, something's going to happen to them, and that's
Mm.
considered a panic disorder as well.
I feel that a lot of people are going through this phase now among your
Yes.
friends, among your friends and your family, you know them going through this?
Yes.
Wow, okay. And I would say that a lot of people went, yeah, I think there are people who were locked down on prolonged period of time, even without the news, and regardless of that, but because people are just being put in prolonged period of lockdown and isolation,
Yeah.
they get crazy. And the people who got violent, you hear news about people who just um, get violent in the family, attacking family members, etc. So
Yes.
it is real. It is real. I mean, I'm talking about the mental stress and all this is real.
Right.
Because of the news coming in, and also because prolonged period of not interacting with normal life. Um,
Right.
I want to know, like, if you go out to the street, for us that we don't live in Louisiana,
Mhm.
um, what is the proportion of people, and they go to a mall, how many people will be wearing masks and how many people will not on a typical day?
Okay. So when we first started, everyone was wearing a mask. Don't get me wrong, because it was mandatory. The state mandatory made it mandatory that we wear a mask. So when we got to phase 3, it seemed like about from 100, I say about 85% was wearing a mask
Yeah, okay.
because they feel that okay, phase 3 means everything open, so carefree.
I see. So now you're in phase three. So you were in phase one sometime in March, right? I think America went
Yes.
into, and how long was that lockdown quarantine period?
I think it was like to May or June.
So it was almost like 3 months.
Yeah.
So
Don't
that,
quote me, it might be a little longer.
you could, okay, because different places are different. So,
Right.
so it was about 3 to 4 months. Now I'm going to go into the questions which is more specific for you as a mother, right?
Yes.
Now, I imagine you, a mother, coming in a house with kids, 5-year-olds. You're naturally concerned about your kids, right?
Right. Right.
Um, and with all these news that's coming on, and plus not just the news, plus the real situation that could possibly happen because of the risk, exposure, etc. How do you,
Right.
as a mother, um, a few things. Number one, take care of yourself, take care of the physical home, take care of the kids, and then take care of yourself again. I mean, could you tell us all these things that go through during that period of time?
Okay. When it first started, I was all over the place. I'm not gonna lie, I was all over the place. I didn't know if I put so much energy on taking care of them and I'm going without. If I do this, something's gonna be going out. So I had to sit down, I had to write, get my notebook, right? Okay, this needs to be done. Had to prioritize things and put it in order for me to see where I need to do in percentage wise. Um, that's the first advice I would give someone. Just take time, breathe, relax, write down exactly what needs to be done, and go from there. Because if you just, okay, if I do this and I do this, and you're thinking just like quick, something's going to get left when undone.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say just prioritize your time and just think, write, use a tool to writing. Writing is good for you to just write everything down, your thoughts, your plans, your actions, what needs to be done. Have a writing method.
I
I'm
want
getting
you,
nervous.
I want you to describe like you're a mother, right?
Right.
When this thing hit America in March, um, and the news were like kind of exploding, right? And you as a mother, and the government says, okay, stay home for this number of days or months. What went through your mind emotionally as a mother who's taking care of people?
You can hear me now?
Yeah,
You went muted. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm just going to repeat. Like, as
Okay.
a mother, as the woman, as the lady of the home, as the lady of the house, um, uh, before we talked about how physiologically you're going to handle the house, but what went through your mind, and how did you handle your mind, and you know, especially when you have kids, what went through your mind?
I'm gonna be honest with you. It may sound funny. I always feel like we all want to die.
Okay, no, 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 I'm not going to. Just tell it straight. Tell it straight.
I'm telling straight. This is how my first initial thing that we all was gonna die. So let me prepare for that. Because the way the news was saying, my mindset went to we all want to die. So okay, let me make sure, this taken care of, this taken care of. But prayer works. And I had to sit down and say, okay, if we do die, let me be safe while I have a chance to. I know this kind of far-fetched to say, but that's what I was going through at the time. I had to say, okay, let me do things to keep my kids safe until we know what's going on.
Yeah.
So that was my first initial thinking, okay, we all are going to die.
Okay. When you say now, and this is very important because people do die from it, and I don't
Yeah.
want you to diminish your feelings. You recognize that your feelings are real and true to you,
Right.
and and it's real in the world today.
Right.
1.3 million people died from 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 this, who
Right.
otherwise have lived as a preventable fatality. Okay, so
Right.
I mean, I just want you to recognize that me coming from Singapore, I just want you to know that it's nothing wrong with that. And hey, girl, hey, lady and woman, like you are good, and that is a rightful reaction. I don't think you should diminish that. I think at some point in time, we all were feeling that, hey, there's a real risk out there, and we don't
Right.
want to put ourselves out there. But I want to ask you, when you had that, how long was that period that this thought came, and how did you emerge out of that?
Okay. It lingered on me for the weekend. Like a Friday, I was starting to feel all those symptoms, and I was starting to say, okay, you know what? We're gonna die. So that Saturday morning, I got up. I said, you know what? I'm not gonna allow this to take me. I'm gonna fight first,
Yeah,
and not meaning fight from being ill, but fight whatever I had to do by making sure my household was clean daily, make sure my kids were, cleaning and show them not to put their hands in their mouth. And I had to fight for my kids, meaning that I had to make sure that they had the proper precautions and the things that we need to have in place.
yeah.
So that's what I had to do. I say, you know what? I wasn't going to let it take the illness just take me. I was going to fight to make sure that we can prevent it from happening, even though
Okay,
we didn't have no preventions.
okay. But did, did you say that, were you tested positive, or was it just in the mind,
The mindset.
the mindset? Because you were reading too much of the news, right?
Right.
Okay, and I shall, and again, I'm going to say that you shouldn't diminish your feelings. They are real, and because people do succumb to it, and we don't make their lives any less important, because it is real, right? People
Right.
people do die from it, so it's a valid kind of response. Um,
Right.
yeah, it's totally valid. And as a mother, I just want to ask you, does it make it more difficult because you are a mother and you have kids? Does it make the fear kind of um, like compounded?
Yes.
Yeah, tell us,
Extremely.
tell us.
Because I'm gonna say this because I'm being most honest possible I can possibly be. When you have kids at the eight under, or 5 years of age, I have twins,
Yeah,
and you can't control every single aspect of their life. They put their hands in their mouths,
oh,
they
true.
touch different things, and
Yeah,
they will go up and hug someone that they know, they could possibly have had it.
Yeah.
They don't understand, okay, COVID. You can tell them till you're blue in the face about it and don't do it, but they're kids.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can't expect.
Yeah. And uh, but when you were placed in a lockdown situation, did you feel safer?
At the beginning, yes.
Why only at the beginning?
At the beginning, yes, because I was feeling like, okay, I'm locked down with I know who I'm locked down with. I know that they're fine.
Right. Yeah, because you're not
Nothing
interacting with the
happened.
outside world.
Yeah, I'm not interacting with the outside world. But it started wearing off because I still needed to go out and obtain the things that we needed to survive.
Essentials.
Essentials, right? So
Yeah.
I had to go out and get that, but am I bringing it home?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I just want to know that, is it just you and your kids living together? Do you have a partner?
Yes, I have a husband. Yeah.
Okay. So does he help? How does the dynamic of husband and wife support system help in such a kind of like mental crisis or environmental crisis?
Yes, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I always say that, I'm sorry, but it does help. It plays a role when you have a spouse that's willing to take, bear some of the load to help you because, you're going through it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they do break down as well.
Okay, your husband did. Emotionally, he broke down.
Yeah.
Okay, could you explain uh, under what kind of circumstances and what kind of reaction he had?
Okay, by him being the head of the household, the provider, it
Yeah,
took, from him his income.
yeah,
And when you can't, men in the United States, it might be men all over, I'm not going to say that, pass judgment. But when you take the provider away from what he goes out to do and what he used to do and what he know how to
uh,
do,
yeah,
it brings on
yeah.
a
Anxieties.
lot of stress, anxiety and stress for that as well.
Yeah,
And at the time, he didn't feel that he can perform his duty as a father or a husband provider.
yeah. So how do you support him?
By physically being there, let them know it's okay. We all want to get through it. But we can say that to women can say that to their spouses or vice versa to their blue in the face, but it still wears a toll on the opposite person.
Okay. So it took a toll on both of you.
Yes.
Okay. Could you give uh, two incidences whereby it really took the toll of both of you? Could you
Okay. Well, first thing for me is when I started experiencing the anxiety and the panic attacks and things like that. What took a toll on me is that I pushed away from him. I didn't want him to
Yeah,
see me weak in a
yeah,
sense of, and that put a little strain on our marriage,
yeah,
okay, because I pushed him away because I didn't want him to see that because it's like another thing that's gonna be piled up on him that he
yeah,
has to take care
yeah,
of, and he didn't know how to take care of it. So that's put a strain on that way.
yeah,
For his take, he said that he was telling me when he couldn't work, it made him feel less of a man,
yeah,
and when it made him feel less of a man, he pushed away as well because he
yeah.
was going in a dark spot for himself. And I didn't know it until he explained it to me. So yes, it's
Okay.
real.
So did you get into fights?
Yes.
Tell us maybe one incident.
Over something small, like closing the door, meaning that it could take a small thing of the closing the refrigerator door. He didn't close it the way I wanted him to close it. So everything was built up,
Yeah,
and a
built up.
small thing of a refrigerator door
Yeah,
caused a big whole
yeah. So
kaboom.
so that happened during the period of the lockdown, right?
Yes.
So at which how long did it take? How long did this kind of flare-ups start to manifest since the day
Not
one of the
long.
lockdown?
I guess about 2 weeks after it, because the
2 weeks.
first week we was trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah,
The second week we was like, hold on, I'm getting
Yeah.
annoyed, you're getting annoyed, the kids getting annoyed.
Yeah.
So somebody's going to get it.
Yeah. Did you try to resolve and talk through it? Was it a time whereby at the later stage you resolved these emotional and mental stresses within yourself and between yourselves?
Well, I received help. I was using a therapist over the internet, virtual
Oh,
therapy.
okay.
So I think that plays a lot too. So you guys
Yeah,
can utilize that. Virtual therapy is not, you
virtual.
shouldn't be afraid to
Yeah,
ask for help
yeah,
because it's very needed at this time, and it's very needed.
yeah.
So once I started gaining tools from the therapy, I started to, open up and be able to talk out my feelings and how I felt. And we started to use it with our marriage after that.
Okay. So he also started using the virtual therapist with a real person behind it, of course.
Yes.
Okay. So how long did that journey take for you all to recognize that, hey, we need to resolve this? How long did it take? How
I give it
many?
about a month and a half. We started using utilizing the tools that we was taught.
And
Yeah.
how and who was the decision that, hey, let's reach out for help? You?
It was me because I was reaching out for help for myself.
Yeah.
And getting help for myself, I found out that there's a, a person that can do that as well, virtual. So
Yeah.
by me getting help,
Yeah.
that opened up the door for me to, speak freely about my situation and gain knowledge and information from the therapist to get help for that as well.
Wonderful. I think this is very important piece of information for the viewers and the listeners out there. A lot of us, I didn't know there was like virtual help.
Oh, yes.
I don't know in this part of the world where I am. I don't know if there is. In the US, I'm glad that you're saying it. There is help somewhere. In the virtual world, there's no concept of borders, right? You can actually reach out to the person in another part of the world, like what we're doing now. So I think it's a good point that you have raised. So that was during the period of lockdown in March, April. So how are you all doing? How are you guys doing now as a couple?